Well, good evening, everyone. We're basically at 6:30. I'm not going to waste any time here. Um, Joy, I can see you are here, so if you would like to share your screen, that would be fabulous. In my opinion, this is part of the highlight of the class is for you to be able, I know you saw some of the projects within your own group, okay, but to be able to see the overall effect of people's efforts to, represent their own identities, cultures, and classrooms. Right. So, Joy, if you,
To
great.
be honest, hello, I don't really know how to use Zoom or how to share. So if you could guide me, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, underneath there is a taskbar at the very bottom, and you should be able to see the word share.
Yes.
All right. And if you click on that, then you have to have the screen open where you can show your
Oh,
project.
okay. Hold on one second. I'm
So
so
I would
sorry.
open that up first.
Okay, let me
And
get out
while
of
we
this.
wait for Joy, is Patrice here? Okay. Um, okay. I can see some people are still logging in.
Okay. Um,
Well, instead of
share.
going on formality, is there someone else who would like to jump in and do this while Joy gets set up?
Okay, I think, do you see it or no? Not yet.
I uh I go ahead, click share. I
Yes? No?
um I you're almost there.
Sorry. I don't use this much at work. If somebody else wants to go ahead, I understand. I'm not.
Uh I think if you click on one of your slides, you may be able to, right?
Okay.
All right, well, is Patrice here? Joy, you're
Yes?
golden. All
Oh,
right.
great. Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. I did books that celebrate diversity. I picked children's books that were for technically my age group was pre-K, kindergarten, possibly even towards first grade. Um, so I basically, the books that I selected were all relevant to our society today. Each author has written and illustrated their book to inspire children at the same time educating them of the world around them. I felt that the books can be used, I think each book can uniquely be incorporated into any early childhood lesson plan. Each children's book listed can individually be used for lesson plans based on Asian, Hispanic, Native American, Muslim, and biracial culture. The illustrations are beyond impressive and encourages children to draw their own interpretations. If planning is increased on top of the multicultural children's books listed, then obviously the effectiveness would be long lasting. The first book I chose was Golden Domes and Silver Lanterns. This children's book explored the Muslim culture through colors. The book is from the perspective of a Muslim child as she explains her culture and the world around her. She's connecting the vibrant colors to key elements that represent the Muslim culture. The other book that I chose, this book I truly enjoyed. It was my first time reading this book, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. This amazing children's book tells the story of an Asian girl that discovers and appreciates the world through her unique eye shape. She sees the world and her culture through the eyes of the women in her life. Joanna Ho shares the importance of acceptance for one's differences while understanding one's culture and history. The story depicts the positive idea of role models while exploring the Asian culture. I also picked Dreamers. I had never read this book before either, but one of my pre-K teachers highly recommended it to me, and she was not wrong. Um, Dreamers is inspired by a true story of immigration. It's shared through the eyes of Yuli Morales. She brilliantly shares her story of travel to the United States with her young child and adjusting to the new country. As she navigates her new life, she learns to find her place through books. Dreamers sheds a light on the importance of literacy The children's book also shows determination and the ability to aspire to overcome change while holding on to parts of oneself or herself. The other Another book was Home at Last. This story is told through the eyes of a young immigrant girl, Anna Patino, and her family. As her and her family begin to adjust to a new country, she's concerned about her mother. Initially, her mother lacks confidence to accept her new home and ways of the country. With love and support of her family, she begins to find her way, and Anna's family learns that they are the definition of home. The next book was Many Nations, An Alphabet of Native America. This well illustrated children's book explores the Native American culture through the letters of the alphabet. As you turn the pages, the children are discovering the impressive culture of the Native Americans. The book carefully describes the exceptional diversity of this country's ancestors. The next book, which I believe might be my last book, is To Miss Gibson's. This wonderful book is the author's true story of her childhood. The author is a biracial Japanese African American child of a loving family. She recalls a time in her childhood being raised by two astounding women, her mother and her grandmother. She shares the importance of both women and the impact that they had on her childhood. As a biracial child living in the Midwest, she is blessed to be exposed to both cultures that influence the person she is today. She learns to celebrate the traditions inspired by both women. I believe that might be my last one. It is.
I just would like to say that you had such a nice variety. Um, I'm always feeling better, okay, when we try to represent as many cultures as we can, okay, but especially those that are present within our own classroom. So thank you, not just for, okay, the variety, but also the number of books, okay, that you included. Okay, it was a good summary.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is Patrice here? All right. Vaughn, I believe you're next.
Here.
All right. So if you could share your screen and project.
Share screen. Y'all see my screen?
Not yet.
Enter. Okay. Share screen. You see my screen now?
You actually have to open.
Do you see my screen?
No. You have to open first the project that you're going to share and then click on the screen sharing.
I did do that.
You have one of the other tabs.
I see that. Bo, can you see?
While we wait, okay, it might be good for the rest of you to also make sure that you have your project open to be able to click on it when you share the screen. Can the rest of you hear me? All right, well, I think that her screen may be frozen. All right, so we can come back to Vaughn. All right, I don't see, is Juan here? Or Renisha?
Yeah, I am right here.
Okay, Juan, if you could,
Um, Actually, could I come back to it because I gotta change some like system settings real fast.
okay, all right. Is there
Sorry.
someone else who would like to jump in? We don't have to do this in alphabetical order. Do I have a
Can I try?
volunteer? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay. Let me pick the window before I start sharing. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hello everyone. My name is Lourdes Marquez, and for the choice project, I decided to do the vignettes. So, I don't know if I said that word correctly, but I hope I did. I said it like those beignets.
The vignette. Okay. And
Okay.
could I ask if you could maybe enlarge your screen a little bit? Okay, beyond
Oh,
so
yes.
that I think
Sorry
it's
about
easier
that.
for people to read. Perfect.
Would that be
Okay, that's
easier?
good. All right.
Okay. So I chose 3 different moments. The first one I did, the first vignette I wrote was called Bless. This one is based off the fact that I am una danzante azteca. So I dance this a very indigenous dance that originally comes from Mexico. And so I talked about like that the very day. I guess I'll go ahead and read it. Um, Makeup, check. Wapango, check. Penacho, check. Hueseras, check. Um, so these are just things that are the traditional wear. Other than the makeup, it's traditional wear that I normally wear for this dance. I help another dancer straighten out her penacho. It leans a little to the left. Es que mi hijo lo encontró y estaba jugando con él. My son found it and was playing around with it. I smile and chuckle. Sospecho que es porque el color es llamativo para los niños. I think it's because the color of it is very attractive to the kids. We all laugh as her son reaches for it at that moment. It's tense. We're all anxious, tired, and hungry. Biggest event yet. We're going before the mariachi and sitting in a small room that El Padre us we could use to change and get ready in. It's on December 12th. It is the birthday of La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin Mary. Some of our dancers are not believers in God, but they still revere.
Okay, so our streaming or whatever connection is probably not that strong. Well, we wait for Lourdes to be able to get back online. I just want to say I really like this because it's a personal reaction to the experience that she was having, okay, in doing the dancing. And it's very much like, stream of consciousness. All right, go ahead, Lourdes.
We all pray that we don't forget our steps and that we don't lose our footing during the dance. And amen. Because it is like a religious dance, that's also why that's why the Father is like blessing us and stuff. We step out into the hall. The incense is lit, strong, quiet, calm, breathe. The drums begin. I can feel the beat through the soles of my feet, in my ears, in my head, in my heart. I begin to dance and sing with the other dancers. My feet lead me into the hall that is bursting full of creyentes, believers. At the front is the statue. She stands there, 7 feet tall. At her feet, hundreds upon hundreds of bouquets of roses. Red, pink, yellow, white. The colors match her clothing. Surrounded by fairy lights and candles, she is a sight to behold. As we dance down the aisle, phones are taken out. Videos are being taken. Cameras shutter. Flashes blind us. People rush to simultaneously move out of our way and be as close as possible. Strong, quiet, calm, breathe. We fly to the front, where we cleanse ourselves in the incense as we present both ourselves and our roses to the altar, to La Virgen. The conch sounds. We start twirling and stomping, dancing. The drums guide us as we stay synchronized in our movements. We keep going, gasping in circles. And finally, we stop. We pray. Then we dance backwards as we retreat up the aisles and into the hallways once more. Out of sight, gasping for breath, we receive our applause. For a few moments, I can still hear the drums in my head. When I look to our drummers, their sticks are not moving. It's in my head. Quickly, we change into our jeans and jackets. People move out of our way as we rush inside upon seeing our makeup. Together with all the others in the hall, we sing Las Mañanitas as loud as we can, feeling every word in our body. With all our hard work will be rewarded with food and drinks and dessert when the mariachi finish. So it's just, yeah, it's mostly just a stream of consciousness as to like kind of um,
But
my
very
thoughts.
heartfelt. Okay, so much culture, okay, in there. And it's very poetic, okay, the way that you wrote, like, prose. Um, we can see and feel, okay, see you dancing and the reaction of the community. Okay, it's very, very well written. Thank you, okay, for sharing. Any other comments from people? All right, who taught you this dance?
Wait, should I I'm trying to figure out, should I stop streaming, or did you already stop
No,
streaming?
we don't see
Oh,
your
okay.
screen anymore, so.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I was just like, oh
Okay.
my gosh, maybe I should stop. So it's so the church does this thing where they, if people want to join, they are allowed to join. And then it's like so what we do at my church, it's a year-long thing, because there's like multiple various steps. And so one of the things that we have to do is, as a group, we have to decide like, oh, how are we going to dance this? And sometimes if there's a person who has way more experience than everybody else, that person is just like, okay, well, I'm going to take charge, and this is kind of what we're going to do. And then within everybody, then we decide like how we're going to dress. So it's a lot about like group decisions. So that's why it's like a bit of a community thing,
What
and that's why we know
to
each
build
other very well.
community
Mm-hmm.
and faith, okay, and preserve tradition. I thank you very much for sharing this. Comments from anyone?
I would just like to say I loved how I could feel like all your senses were touched on and how you wrote it. Just it just embodied the atmosphere that you were in while you were dancing. It was very, very well done.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that when you were speaking, it kind of resonated with me because how you started, it started off with the word blessed, and that says it all in one word. So I loved it.
Thank you.
It was really emotional. Thank you.
All right. Well, if there are no other comments, okay, again, very well done. All right. All right, Renisha. Okay. Or Juan, do you think are you close?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
All right, thank you.
So for my first choice project, I chose to do a children's book suite. In this suite, the focus is on immigration. Um, and it was mainly influenced during the some of the events that were happening in Chicago at the time. In the first book I have here is La Frontera, My Journey with My Papa by Alfred Alba and Deborah Mills. My journey with my papa tells of Alfred Ava's experience of his and his father's journey as they crossed the U.S.-Mexico border in search of a better life in order to provide for their family back at home. This book showcases the immigrant experience told through a child's perspective and the hardships Alfred faced early on in his life. This My Journey with Papa is a great representation of the immigration experience and impact on a child's mental and emotional well-being. The illustrations aid in digesting the story, allowing for students to comprehend the experience and identify reasons for leaving the country. And like with each one, I have it linked embedded in with the cover there. Uh, the next book I have here is Dreamers by Yui Morales. Dreamers, similar to the previous, tells of the author's journey as an immigrant traveling from Mexico to the United States. We shift perspectives and now view the story from the eyes of a mother and her child with dreams and desire for a better life, later finding solace in books, opening new worlds for them. Dreamers explores concepts concerning the immigration experience and what it is like adjusting to a new country and culture. At the center, the book's theme is heavily reliant on love between a mother and child and opportunities and worlds open through books. Students utilizing this text would be able to discuss the reasons for traveling to a new country, like going for benefits and opportunities. Then there is the journey by Francesca Sana. The journey again tells the story of a refugee family escaping from war and violence in their homeland. Again, the story is still from the perspective of a child, resonating greater with students. The narrative conveys messages of hope and the human cost of war. The illustrations of this children's book, which I really enjoy, are stylistic and vivid, engaging student interest. The book continues sharing the experience that migrants go through. However, we shift slightly to explore the experience of refugees and which has a higher relevance in today's current events. Hope is expressed on every page, and students will continue exploring reasons for leaving a country. Then there is Dolores Huerta by Sarah Warren. Dolores Huerta is a biography of the civil rights activist Dolores Huerta, advocating for both her students and farm workers' rights in order to improve the community. While this book does not detail the experience of the immigrant's journey, it does, however, highlight the experience that many migrants go through after having arrived in a new country, survival. Students will learn of the struggles of migrant workers providing for their families and learn about Dolores' efforts to improve working conditions for them. This also provides a great segue discussion into civil rights and social reform. Um, Here I have down how I'd use it in a unit plan. So the suite of children's books would find their place, I'd say, in the social studies unit, exploring the immigrant experience. Students will explore variation in journeys with recurring themes of survival and hope. Students will also be able to identify and discuss push and pull factors that influence the migrant experience. Push factors being defined as the reasons for leaving the country, and pull factors defined as the reasons for traveling to a new country. As mentioned earlier, Dolores Huerta specifically lends itself to a grander examination of civil rights and social reform. With this in mind, this mini unit may be expanded to explore other books, but more especially a community engagement project. And additionally from personal experience, classrooms are, from the classes that I've been in and the schools that I've been in, are consistently filled with many students who come from immigrant families. This deeper exploration can provide them with a more supportive classroom environment and culture, and provide them the opportunities to share their experience, which again can also lend itself to like a parent involved project where they may come in and be speakers. But yeah.
Thank you very much. I think highlighting push and pull, okay, not just the pull, but the push is especially important, right now for people to understand, okay, why people are refugees, that it may be a matter of life and death. And I think what I also especially like about it is the concept of taking some type of community social action, okay, in response, okay, to your own community, and after having read these books. I like the fact that there was something not just on crossing the border, but migrants and refugees, okay, as well, and the dreamers, of course. And I would venture to say that most of us have people from all of these groups, okay, within our own classrooms. All right, thank you. Other comments? Come on, some positive feedback for one. Thank you for also, always appreciate it when you guys include the covers of the books as well. Right, the visual memory helps, okay, when we go back and try. And I hope that some of you, that this expands, okay, the number of books that you might consider recommending to your directors, okay, for purchase, for use within your own classrooms. Remember that they amend grants throughout the year, right? March is usually one time. Okay, so if you have a wish list or you'd like to include some of these, I would encourage you, okay, to send the publisher and the cost, to your building director or district director. All right, who would like to go next?
I can try.
Thank you.
I can go from the end of the alphabet to the middle.
That's okay. I'm ready for somebody to jump in.
All right, let me see. I'm not perfect at this, but
Well, Colleen, it is Colleen, right?
yep, you
Yeah.
got me.
You remember that I had 2 Zoom rooms last time, so feel confident about whatever you're doing.
All right, can you see my screen?
Raise it up a little bit if you can. All right, scroll down right there. And I would maybe, if you could, click from 100% to maybe 110, right
Okay.
up at the top.
Yep, I can do that. Oh, it only 120
Yeah, I
seconds.
think that's better. Okay, thank
All right, I apologize in advance if my dogs start barking. I can't control them. Okay, I did the collect 3 to 5 artifacts with personal meaning to you and your family that helps to represent your cultural background and share how they have this effect. This is my first artifact. It's a sign that I have in my kitchen. It's important to my, let me go there. I chose the sign because I'm a third generation Irish descent. My grandfather came here from Ireland and got married to his wife, and they started a big family. The sign signifies a couple things for my family. The collada ring is a symbol, it's an Irish wedding ring in Ireland. And it signifies the heart of love, the crown of loyalty, and the hands of friendship. So, traditionally in Ireland, this is what they wear as their wedding rings. Obviously, over here, I don't see them as much as when I was growing up. But all the females in our family do have them. I also chose it because of the saying. It says, "Welcome all who gather here, cherished." Sorry, my dog. Cherished friends and kin. May love and laughter grace this home and every heart within. So, because my family is so large, nothing is small. No gatherings are small. I host Thanksgiving at my house every year, and we have a minimum of 50 people show up. That includes relatives coming from Ireland to celebrate with us because they think it's quite a spectacle because they don't have Thanksgiving over there. Okay. Sorry, my dog keeps licking my face. My second one was our family t-shirt. My maiden name is Cronin. I'm the 22nd member of my family. So every family, my dad was the third member. His dad and mom were the first and second. And every family member that is born, married, whatever, gets a shirt. And we are, I think, up to like in the 60s somewhere. With my children being the 43rd and 45th members of the family. So it's just part of our heritage and part of what we deem family to be important. And so we like to get together, and people all think that we're crazy. And people look at my shirt if I wear it for like St. Patrick's Day, and they're like, "What does Cronin mean?" I'm like, "That's my maiden name." It just so and then the last one I chose is that's one of my daughter's kilts when she was younger, and the bagpipes, because the kilt and the bagpipe are a huge part of every function that we have in our family. The bagpipes come to every wedding and every funeral, the same. And they're a surprise and a shock to most people when they start to hear them. My husband is he's like Ukrainian descent, and when the bagpipes came out at my wedding, his family stood there like frozen. They just didn't even know how to respond. But also, sadly, they come we have bagpipes at every funeral in our family, and it's just part of our culture, and it's an important part of our lives. So.
Thank you very much, okay, for sharing these. I feel as if it's a reflection of my own family as well. I do have a claddagh that my daughter bought for me in Ireland, and I have bought them as first communion gifts. And thank you for the reminder because we have a communion coming up in April, and I will most certainly, okay, get one for my granddaughter. And like you, okay, I hosted, there were 52 of us. Okay, there were only two that were not immediate family members, a priest and somebody that he brought.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to know, do you replace the shirts? Because you can't be wearing that same size all these years. How do you do this?
Yes. So my sister is the oldest member. My dad is the obviously the firstborn in his big family, and then my sister is the firstborn in my family, and she is tasked with the project of getting new shirts, and especially with the kids, because right when they're born, they're little, and they get a shirt right when they're born, and as they grow. So every usually when there's an event that's going on and we're going to have them, she'll send out an email to everybody who needs a new shirt, and she gets them all made for everybody. So yes, we do replace them.
All right, thank you. All
Yes.
right, comments or?
Colleen, you stated that you guys don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Are there any other holidays that you do not celebrate? And if so, why?
No, we do celebrate Thanksgiving. I host Thanksgiving at my house, and we have over 50 people. So we celebrate all the holidays. It's never just immediate, like, it's me and my husband and my two daughters. It's never just the four of us. It's always a good 30, 50 people that show up to every event that we have.
I think
Oh,
what she
that's awesome.
misunderstood was that there are people that visit from Ireland and they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Ireland. And so that was okay.
Yes, that's probably it. You're correct. Yes.
I'm sorry if I didn't.
Family members from Ireland that come to visit because they don't have Thanksgiving over in Ireland, and they all go back and they hear about Thanksgiving at my house, and they're like, you have to come over and see the amount of food that's there, the amount of people. It's just,
It's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to say I thought you did a really great job. And I also thought that the tradition that your father started with the t-shirts and the births and the different, when you get married and things of that nature, I think that's really cool too. For if you don't have these cultural traditions, you can just create your own traditions within your family. So I appreciated that. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, Dana, would you like to maybe?
Yeah, I can share.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. It's coming.
Oh.
There we go.
Can see it.
Yes.
Okay, so I made a ABC book just about my family culture, kind of the traditions that we have. So I titled it From Rome to Chicago. Sorry, it's blocked. From Rome to Chicago, an ABC journey through my Italian family culture. So in 1928, my great-grandparents immigrated to Chicago from Pizzone, Italy. And then my grandma was born here 7 years later. I said my grandma was an integral part of my life. She taught me a lot about my culture as an Italian American. She helped keep family traditions alive and shared everything she knew about the Italian family that had an influence on my life. So this book is about my culture as an Italian American. It includes a lot of ideas relating to our traditions and lifestyle. And then I said I dedicated it to my grandma, who I appreciated for all she shared with me. And then I made it so that it could be shared in a classroom, so kind of like a children's book. So I said, although it's a personal story, it can apply to students in the classroom. It shows that we all come from unique backgrounds with different traditions, foods, experiences, and so students can gain the exposure to those diverse perspectives and foster inclusivity about different backgrounds. And then I related it to emergent bilinguals as well, that they could benefit from this book by connecting their own cultural experiences to this literature, and they could use the translanguaging strategies to draw on their linguistic repertoires and better comprehend the ideas. And then there's some images as well, which I'm include some of the scaffolding for those students. So I won't go through every single letter. I'll kind of flip through and just highlight a few. So I put A is for ancestry. My family roots trace back to Pizzone, Italy. My family lived here for generations before coming or immigrating to Chicago, Illinois. Understanding ancestry helps us understand our traditions and values. B is for basil, which is a key ingredient in many of my family's Italian recipes. We make pesto, caprese salad, and use basil in our pasta sauce. C is for Chicago. Chicago became my family's home after emigrating from Pizzone, Italy. My ancestors chose Chicago because of the job opportunities in construction. Then D, I have dinner. E is for Easter and some of the traditions that we have, including rice pie, frittata, ricotta pie, and more. H is homemade pasta. My dad and I make homemade pasta together. Often the recipe has been passed down through generations. We told the dough by hand and cut it into shapes and let it dry before making it for our family meal. Immigration, jewelry, I highlighted. Kitchen, the heart of our home. Language, homemade meatballs. Neighborhood. Originally, my family settled in a Chicago neighborhood on Taylor Street. Here, they found familiarity and community. Outside of this neighborhood, it was difficult for them to quickly assimilate to a prospering life that was different from what they were used to back in Italy. Olive oil, piazza. Villages, my ancestors are from a small village outside of Rome. The small village features tight-knit communities. Oftentimes, my family carries the village mindset in everyday life. They support each other through every stage of life. Wishing fountain, which is the Trevi fountain. Christmas, we have a lot of holidays. We celebrate the Feast of Seven Fishes. We eat seafood all night and open gifts together. Yearly reunions and Zapoli. So just highlighting the different traditions that we have, and I really got to explore a lot of my family culture as well and have a lot of conversations with my family through making this. So yeah.
Wow, you could publish that. Okay, your images, okay, and the way that it was narrated, okay, was very beautifully done. And I think that we all recognize the Italian culture is pretty strong in those. I did let me say how long does it take you to make the pasta?
The sauce takes longer than the noodles, actually. The sauce has to simmer for a long portion of the day. So usually like Sunday, once we get back from church, we'll start the sauce and then eventually
But
start
that's
with
the
the
noodles that I
noodles.
was wondering about, the spaghetti itself.
The spaghetti isn't as difficult because you can cook it right away. If we make like a gnocchi or something, that has to sit out for a couple days. So it depends on the type of pasta.
And then I have to tell you that my husband lived on Taylor Street. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in college. Okay.
Very cool.
So, all right. Other comments from anyone?
I resonate so much with your post. My dad is Italian, and we also make homemade pasta. We also do the Feast of the Seven Fishes. That was really, I love that. That was really great to see. Thanks for sharing.
I just have to say, Dana, I know I was in your project group and I commented on your project specifically, but as I was reading through the alphabet, I couldn't stop but think like I want to laminate this and put a ring in it and have every student do it with their family and come in and share for like a cultural night or something like that. Even though I think that, Italian or there's certain things that I learned so much still. And it just brought a little more detail to my knowledge. And thank you. It was awesome. Really well done. And you should publish it.
I would also like to compliment you on your introduction, the way that you integrated translanguaging and language repertoire. All right. some of the vernacular.
Yeah, right.
All right. Okay. Unless there are additional comments, who else would like to go next?
I can share next.
All right. Thank you, Terry.
Full disclosure, I have a toddler that's moving around in the background, so any random noises we'll blame on him. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, can we see it? Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. So I also chose to do a suite of picture books that celebrate diversity for the elementary classroom. I like to use picture books a lot in my teaching, and I teach music, so a lot of times things that have like a rhyming sequence or something that can be kind of turned into a song is really helpful. But I'm always kind of looking to expand the different books that I have. And this is just kind of the focus of it is really, as educators, we have the power to create our classroom environment, and incorporating diverse and inclusive representation is a way to really make all of our students feel valued and safe, and that their identities are celebrated. So I tried to pick books and then also come up with some different ways that they could be included in the classroom, which is like some different lesson ideas to kind of build on. My first book is All Are Welcome. And this is a rhyming book that has really beautiful artwork, and it has this repeating phrase, all are welcome here. And it's really nice for like the beginning of the school year, because it kind of goes through a whole school day, and it shows children from a variety of backgrounds. They're working together. It's a school environment. They're playing, they're eating, they're celebrating. And while we're all different, we share the school day experience together. So some different ideas to use this book. It's a really nice read aloud for the start of the year, to kind of open up discussions about classroom norms and expectations and what we can do to make everybody feel included. I also thought it might be nice to do an art project, like having students create their own self-portraits that represent their own cultural heritage, maybe ways they celebrate, things like that, and then using it to create a class mural with all students. And then also kind of using it to springboard some SEL conversations about conflict resolution, having students talk about, maybe times where they have felt unwelcome or seen someone not included, and then like to practice strategies to help when people are feeling left out, or things we can do when we see those kinds of things happen. This next book is Last Stop on Market Street. And it's about CJ and him and his grandmother take the bus different places. And it's the way it's written. I really like the language in the book is just really beautiful. But he thinks kind of like why he has to wait for the bus in the rain, and he's riding bus to the part of town that's less affluent, and he sees others in cars. And with his grandmother, she kind of changes his perspective to see the beauty in the world. And there's really big themes of gratitude, empathy, kind of challenging the assumptions we make about people and their experiences. And also there's just kind of an underlying theme of socioeconomic inequality in a very age appropriate way. So it's a very approachable book for younger students. And then just some different ways to use it is kind of to start some projects maybe about community and looking into community exploration, who is in your community, who has roles in your community, how do those roles help each other, and maybe even having groups make posters for that. And then even taking it further and considering, where is there an area of need in the community, and how could you help out with that, whether it's, making posters, running a food drive, just some different ideas to kind of be active in the community. And then I thought this was a cool idea of found poetry, having students read the book and find specific language in there that's meaningful to them. There's just like a lot of really beautiful language. And then encouraging them to take that and use it as inspiration to create their own poems out of these phrases and kind of interpret it with their own perspectives. My next book is The Day You Begin. And it's a really empowering book, kind of about accepting yourself, and that it's kind of a feeling that everybody kind of has sometimes an experience where they feel like they don't belong or they're made to feel othered. And the book kind of touches on skin color, the food we eat, social anxieties, just basically that feeling of being othered. And it has a really strong message of empathy, and encouraging you to embrace your own specific identity and share your voice, and connecting. So just some different ways to use it. One would be to write an I am poem, having students, consider their own qualities, their own identities, and make a poem that represents themselves. Kindness matters, like leading a class discussion, again, about that idea of being left out and feeling excluded, and also like what that might look like. Sometimes people are left out in ways that aren't outspoken or explicit. Sometimes people are left out in more implicit ways, and kind of challenging students to think about that and like what is an act of kindness they could do or a way to make people feel included. And then just some bigger conversations about emotions, showing, that's my top of laughing, showing students a set of pictures with people feeling different emotions, such as joy, and kind of like what the faces look like, what does sad look like, what does happy look like, what are the characteristics of that, would be something. And then some strategies, like when we have big feelings, what do we do? How do we calm down? What can we do when we're sad? Things like that. I chose Eyes That Kiss in the Corner, which I saw Joy also chose, which is a really great book. Talking about kind of different eye shapes, and the young girl, at first she feels very self-conscious about her eye shape. People kind of tell her it's different, and then she begins to celebrate it. And I love the language that her eyes kiss in the corner and they're like crescent moons, and it's also a connection to other strong women in her family. So that's a really beautiful book. And some different ideas would be having students look at perhaps like their own eyes and encourage them to kind of draw artwork of their own eyes, or even through photographs, kind of, again, making like an art collage situation. But then also challenging stereotypes, introducing to students what is a stereotype, and why they're harmful, and how when we make those kinds of judgments, we're not being accurate, and we're also we're just not celebrating people for who they are. So kind of encouraging students to look for ways that people might be portrayed stereotypically, and to challenge it. And then just with the beautiful language in this book, making a word cloud and kind of a collage representing everybody's different editions, just kind of based on the way that, eyes are described, eyes that kiss in the corner. Like, how could we describe ourselves with artistic language like that? And then I have this book, We Are Water Protectors. And this book follows an Indigenous girl who learns about the importance of protecting clean water on Earth. And water, the way water is described is it's like almost like a character in the book. It's very like a living entity. There's really vivid imagery, and a really focus on how all living things are connected. And she kind of finds strength in her community, wisdom of her ancestors, and she rises up to become somebody that protects the earth and advocates. So it's inspired by Indigenous-led movements to protect water sources, which is a very current issue. And the book urges readers to take action. So there's a lot of different ways to incorporate this, but some different ideas I had would be, researching specific tribes that may be in or near your community. And obviously this would be something where you would want to be as authentic as possible. So reaching out for sources, possibly guest speakers, visiting cultural centers, focusing kind of on environmental justice, different ways that environmental damage affects the community, what we can do to provide access to clean water, whether it's, creating posters with messages about how to help or researching more, and just kind of discussing into activism and advocacy, kind of having students find a cause that's important for them, and then considering the next steps, what is a plan that they could take for a cause that they believe in. And then my last book is The Proudest Blue, a story of hijab and family. And this book is about sisters on the first day that one of them wears her hijab. And it talks about kind of the challenge that she faces. She's self-conscious. She's worried about, people's reaction. And it ends with like her challenge becoming a triumph and a celebration, and embracing her own cultural identity, the love of her family, and just kind of that resilience. So this is another really great book I recommend. And some different ways to use it would be to encourage students to find their proudest color, have them draw a picture of themselves, their family, with different shades of that color, kind of reflect on why that's important. Another idea would be an If I Wore A, and have students think about maybe a cultural aspect that's important to them, whether it is a piece of clothing, a food, an artifact, just something that is meaningful to them and their culture, that they could then write about and share with the class. And then my last idea was just having a member of the Muslim community speak to the class for that representation, having students ask questions, obviously something you'd want to prepare ahead of time, make sure students are, respectful and kind of guided in their questions. But I think that could be a really cool experience. Thank you so much for reading, and those are my suggestions.
Wow. I think the social, emotional emphasis is so strong, okay, across all of your books, right? And I think that you did a phenomenal job of concentrating and saying how we could teach these, not just read them, but what we could possibly do as educators. So very well done.
Thank you.
I am curious, are you a social worker?
I just am finishing my LBS 1. So multilingual learning and special education are very at my forefront right now.
Well, that is clear in your project. All right. Any other comments?
I have that same book, and I read that to my daughter, and she really likes it. That the Jabhar book with the Muslim with the head wrap. Yeah, she likes that. That's all.
Okay. All right. Renisha or Peyton, if you're ready to share, that would be fabulous. And then, okay.
Yeah, I could go. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Um,
And I don't mean to ignore you up in the corner either.
don't judge all of my tabs. I am a mess right now. Um, Sorry. Alrighty. Everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Awesome. So I did my project on the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. It's a really wonderful book, and really reflects a lot of the what we talk about in this class regarding culture and ethnographic studies. So I try to take kind of ethnographic lens and analysis of this book in my project. So I just want to read the summary really quick for you, just so you have a little bit of a background about what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to. So the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian takes place in Spokane, Washington State, and follows a Native American teenager named Arnold Jr. Spirit. Throughout this project, I'll refer to him as Junior because that's his nickname that he goes by in the book. Junior's life on the reservation is surrounded by poverty, alcoholism, and hopelessness within his community. Junior has a disability that makes him prone to health issues and seizures, and he's often bullied for both on and off the reservation because of this, and when he moves off the reservation because of his ties to being Native American. So there's a lot of racism in this book too. A healthy outlet for Junior is his ability to draw cartoons, and one day Junior is recommended to attend Reardon High School, a mostly white high school over 20 miles from his reservation. And here he struggles with racism, isolation, and identity crisis. This book gets a lot into kind of the culture of schools and how that affects Junior and his life. So prominent themes of the book, we got school culture. That's like the biggest thing you tend to see in this one is his school on the reservation versus school at Reardon. A lot having to do with resources and kind of dedicated teachers, but also having to do with just the general culture and outlook on life. The struggle with one's own identity. This is a whole theme throughout the book. The importance of community, cultural expectations, differentiation, impact of educators, social and economic status, and racism. So on your right, you actually have an example of one of the drawings in the book. There's a good amount of cartoon drawings drawn by the protagonist, Junior. And this one is just excellent at representing kind of his struggle with his identity throughout the book. So again, he really is trying to figure out how he wants to talk, how he wants to act, how he wants to dress, based on his own like culture and upbringing, and then related to his experience at the mostly white school Reardon, and kind of this wrestling that he goes through with his own identity as a result of this. And then I just kind of highlight some important texts that really shine out of like how school culture and identity conflict is a key part of this book. So one of them has to do with his experience at the reservation school. His book was older than it was 30 years old, and his mother actually was like one of the people on the textbook that owned it. So this really frustrated him in the beginning of the book and kind of highlighted the lack of resources his school had. And then, as the picture on the right kind of points out, he says he's half Indian in one place and feels half white in the other. So just general connections to the course. I really thought a lot of this book was related to the video we watched on Cambodia Town. A lot of like passed down trauma, generational trauma, related again to alcoholism, and then just Native Americans being subjugated and marginalized throughout United States history, and kind of how that overall affects the community and their outlooks on life. And then just generally being able to relate this book to ELL students where they might be coming to a school that's completely different from their culture, their upbringing, and the language that they speak in their homes. And they're kind of feeling like they have to adhere to social norms in one place and then go home and be a completely different person, and speak a completely different language and have a completely different culture. I just threw this in there. I want to be a social studies teacher, and I think it's important to kind of the aspect of the book because they talk about this a little bit, but then generally just Native American culture. So cultural assimilation in the early 1800s and throughout the 1800s, Native Americans were kind of coerced into sending their children to Native American boarding schools. And what these schools essentially did was, I think the saying that the founder of the schools said was "kill the Indian and save the man" or something essentially like that. But they cut their hair, which is part of their culture. They don't allow them to speak their language, English only. And the goal essentially was to eradicate their culture, turn them into white men. And people doing this during the time thought it was like helping them, but at the same time, as we know, it kind of destroyed their culture and left it in shambles. And so many students in these schools were abused also, which is relative to like them speaking English only. There's testimonies and interviews about them being beaten for speaking their home language or heritage languages and stuff like that. Community and cultural expectations. The book really highlights kind of what life is like on the reservation versus life in his school, and again, how he struggles with how he wants to be perceived by others, and that's really a major theme of the book. I can read one of these. Life is a constant struggle with being an individual and being a member of the community. A lot of this has to do with his own relationships with his family, specifically his grandmother, and basically her kind of pushing onto him or letting him know that he should be himself and he should still be proud of his heritage. But at the same time, he feels like beaten by racism at the school to where he wants to conform to being viewed as like a white man in some ways. And then the last quote actually is really great. I'll read that one too really quick. I knew that I was never going to drink because I was never going to kill myself and because I was going to have a better life out in the white world. And again, points out kind of his outlook on his culture, not necessarily culture, but kind of his upbringing and the alcoholism that plagues the reservation that he lives on. Ultimately, this one really connects to ethnographic eyes and this idea that school cultures are extremely different. But I wanted to point out that ethnographic eyes, it doesn't do a fantastic job at pointing out, this devastating impacts that certain things can have on cultures of schools, like poverty, violence, substance abuse, and everything along with that. And I saw this in some of my teaching experiences, just growing or teaching and supporting students in communities where there's gang violence and substance abuse. It's really, it plagues the school culture and really changes the way students act on a day-to-day basis, and affects, being able to teach. Yeah, so on that note, us as taking kind of a cultural outlook, we need to be more trauma informed and work on building social emotional strength in our students on a day-to-day basis. So not as much differentiation, but the impact of educators is a constant theme throughout the book. Specifically, the student junior's teacher on the reservation, Mr. P, really kind of gives Junior this push to transfer to the school in the hopes that, he has a better life or a better education as a result of this. So again, I just connected back to the course concepts and how, the culture of schools is really impacted by socioeconomic status, violence, alcoholism, but also a lot of things, cultural assimilation and kind of the impact of history on certain groups and how they have been marginalized. And so overall, just the key takeaways from the book and my connections to the course is that as educators, it's our responsibility to analyze the culture, as we've been studying, within our schools in order to create a culturally relevant curriculum for our students, especially in practices like social studies, to be able to support them. Also, social and emotional learning, along with trauma-informed practices, especially in these communities, is crucial to supporting students with these backgrounds and being able to kind of instill some hope to some degree, as sometimes they have felt marginalized their whole lives. And then ultimately, my last point I kind of made is that we're living in a time currently where there are so many schools with limited resources and others with an abundance of resources. But at the same time, we all have access to wonderful things like the internet, AI, and resources online. And that really can impact the way we differentiate, scaffold, and create a prosperous classroom for our students, regardless of the resources that we're given. And that was it.
All right, that was very well done. I know I taught high school social studies, to students primarily that were newcomers from Mexico, and the marginalization, the conflict between what, even for to speak to parents about a young woman attending college and not staying to live with the family. Okay, now granted, it's been 20 years since then. All right. But often there were times, okay, where they would be socialized within the high school, and then it might cause some conflict with home values as well. So there is a fair amount of marginalization. Okay, but I would like to make a suggestion since this book is pretty similar. Are you familiar with the Navajo code talkers?
Yes.
I one of them, recently died a year or two ago, but it was a very similar situation where they were removed, okay, from their families, okay, and put in boarding schools.
Yeah.
Their hair, which was a horrible insult, and some of the abuse. But then during the war, it was a turning point in World War II because the Germans could not crack, okay, the enigma, okay, the code, okay, that the Navajos were able to use. So, it might be one that you could use, okay, to parallel, right, with that.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. I like the way that you tied it in, okay, with the concepts, okay, within the book and ethnography, okay, overall, and the importance of school culture and the role that we play as educators. And you also mentioned AI, and that brought me back to Terry. Terry, you commented, looking for let's say, trying to preserve our water source. I did a project this summer using AI, and that helped me find, okay, some resources on the indigenous struggle over the pipeline. Okay, when I was trying to tie it in also to whether or not we should use Indian names, okay, in our schools, and to try and get them to take action. Because like many of you, I wanted some kind of social action project as a result, where they could either write to their senator about how they felt about one of those issues. So, and I was able to get some resources and ideas by using AI. So that would be a suggestion.
Yeah, it's great for resources, but it's also, if you haven't taken a look at it, for differentiation, scaffolding, changing activities, giving you ideas for teaching. It's excellent. It's can change your how you teach in the classroom and how you support individual students.
Yeah, Diffit and Magic Schoolhouse, those are two that are really good at that. All right. Now, Dejanay, I don't see your picture anymore. If you wanted to share. Okay. Who else is ready? Renisha?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to thank all of you who did log in. As I say, I think apart from the ethnographic interview, I think we learn a lot from one another, okay, from the results of what you produce. Okay, the outcome, that is part of our takeaway is what we glean from one another.
Is anything showing?
Not yet.
Nothing still?
No, not yet.
Hmm.
Did you click on the share screen?
I did. I don't know why. Okay, let me.
And you have another tab open with whatever it is you want to project.
It looks. Oh, well. Hold on. Okay.
Sometimes if you have like a pop-up blocker, sometimes that stops you from being able to share.
Thank you, Lourdes. Fabulous. You're up.
I think you're on mute.
All right, we can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me now? Okay, let me try to get the PowerPoint back up now. Just a moment. Okay. So I did my choice project on the artifacts with personal meaning. My artifacts are a newspaper, a display, an article, and about family, a family photograph collage. So my first artifact would be this newspaper article. This newspaper article highlights the first bell, to my knowledge, to my family, and how we got our name. 1872 is how far back it goes. Aaron Bell was my great-great-great-grandfather down in Carrollton, Georgia. The name Bell, once slavery was ended, when slavery had ended, my grandfather decided to just to retain the name that came from the slave master, which name was Old Man Pitt Bell. And that's where my last name comes from. So here I have also in my kitchen this display, and it says, when life gives you lemons, add salt and tequila, or you can make lemonade. Basically, to me, it just means to make the best out of your circumstance in spite of whatever obstacles or challenges you may face. I do, in my family, we have a lot of perseverance and determination, even when you are faced with things that may be challenging. We always try to look on the bright side. My family has been facing challenges long before 1872. We keep going, and each generation goes further than the last. And I mentioned that because some people in my family, especially the earlier generation, they didn't go to college. So a lot of the younger generations are taking more advantage of going to school and, furthering their education. This next slide is basically about volunteering and giving back and helping, but it's also gives a snippet into incarceration. Incarceration, it does affect African American homes. It affects different homes. It's not just an African American thing, but what I want to elaborate on is that it did affect my family. And in infecting my family, I was a recipient of this organization for many years, and then I became a volunteer to give back and help other families that were going through different things. as a form of the incarceration. The incarceration does also infect both people, the person that's inside the walls as well as the family that's on the outside. My last slide is just basically elaborating more on family being my lifeline and my reason why. Culturally, family is everything to me, and that's my presentation.
All right, thank you for sharing. I know I saw it. I know you've done the work, okay, even though we couldn't see the screen, but you know, family is important. The resilience, being a descendant, okay, of a slave, okay, you have a strong family history, right, to overcome, okay, difficulties. And the fact that the younger generations are now going through college, okay, is fabulous. And I hope that your family continues, okay, to support. It sounds to me as if you have a good family support base. And I especially appreciate the fact that you are willing to give back to others. Okay, Dejanay, are you ready to share? I may not be pronouncing it right, okay? Okay. Is it Miss Matthews? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who has not shared yet at this point in time who is ready? Okay, thank you, Sarah.
I'm not. I can try. I'll start sharing my screen. And let me know when you guys can see it. Can you see it yet?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So meet my great grandmother. This is my great grandma Wrights. Her first name was Barbara. This is a picture of her when she was younger, and a picture of her as I remember her growing up. She is from Romania. And, in doing this, most of my family is from Germany. But in doing this and learning about her immigration story, she is from Romania. And so I started diving into some pictures of Romanian culture, the artwork, the cookies, and things from my childhood started to like peek out at me, like the cookies that we always had at Christmas time or on any holiday. There they are right there. And just the artwork that we've seen. And my kids and her daughter's actually turning 90 in 2 days, and she's in Florida, and I'm sad I can't be with her, but my kids and I made kind of like this image right here, this artwork. We painted it on coasters for her and sent it down there. So this really inspired just her birthday present, her daughter's birthday present. But anyway, this is Frank. This is my great grandma's father. Unfortunately, he passed away when my great grandma was just a toddler. He was 31 years old, died of tuberculosis, and he was a member of the military. And I do remember seeing his uniforms. I guess it was part of a unit that they had like a very pristine looking uniform. But he had two daughters, Barbara and Elizabeth, and Barbara is my great grandma. This is my great grandma's mom. Her name is Catherine. We have a lot of Catherines in our family. My mom's name is Kathy. Her identical twin is Karen. Barbara's daughter is Catherine with a Catherine. My daughter's name is a form of Catherine, Katerina. But she was in an arranged marriage, which I thought was interesting. That would not fly with me today. And she actually got remarried, and it was with her second husband that they came over to the United States. I love that my daughter's into crochet right now, and in looking back at our family history, it specifically said that she loved to crochet, and she crocheted so much and donated it to her church. And when she passed at her funeral, they adorned the altar with all of her crochet, um, just, altar coverings. I thought that was special. I would like to get my hands on one of those if we still have them. This is a picture I've seen before growing up. I remember my mom video or tape audio recording my great grandma when she was living. And, I'd be playing around in the room, and I remember them sitting there for hours and talking. And now I just wish I sat there and listened, but being so young, this is a picture I've seen before. And it didn't mean, it's a picture when you're little, but now having gone through this class and looking at this picture, there's so much more depth to it. And, you could see straight to their souls, and you imagine, wow, when she came over, she was 9 years old. My son is 9 right now. And just really trying to embody what it would feel like to leave your country, leave your friends, leave the road you would ride your bike on, or, it's such a big change. And to move to another country with a different language. They came into Ellis Island, got settled in Philadelphia, and then eventually made home in St. Louis. And St. Louis is where my mom was born, where I was born. So that's why I was born in St. Louis, is because of their move here. I went backwards, sorry. This is some pictures of Ellis Island. I'm not sure the exact route that they took. Like, I saw on the boat when they came over, they were on it for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm sure the conditions weren't fantastic. And I know that they probably didn't have a lot of money. By no means were they like first class passengers. But I even know the process when they came to Ellis Island was kind of divided by class. You had an expedited service for those who had more money, and for everyone else, it took a little longer. And if you were sick or anything like that happened, or any possible like threat to our land here, they would send you back on the boat and you'd be making your way back. And I just can't imagine that with, young children. And I mean, this is kind of the progression. This was neat to look at the pictures. So her as a young girl. This is a bridesmaid picture that she had. This is a wedding anniversary picture. And they actually, my great grandma Wrights and her husband Matthew, they got married on the same day as my parents. So they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary the same day my parents actually got married. So that was kind of a neat fact. And here's Catherine right here. She's the one who's celebrating her 90th birthday in 2 days. So just a few things about her. Again, some more of the artwork. This is kind of what we tried to do on the coasters for my grandma. And I love this quote. It says, "Remember me in the family tree, my name, my days, my strife. Then I'll ride upon the wings of time and live an endless life." And I think that's what we all want for people that we love so much. Continue on and live through their memory. So that's my project.
Thank you very much. I think we learn a whole lot about our families when we do this.
Yeah.
And it makes us appreciate them more. And I think I wrote in response to you, I got choked up when I read that quote, okay, at the end of it.
Yeah. It was like full circle, going through like getting my kids involved in painting the coasters for my grandma and sharing more about what I was learning about the Romanian culture and showing them the cookies. And so it was, I'm very thankful for this project.
And the crocheting, okay, as well. Okay,
I
what a
know.
nice tribute for her, for them to have displayed that on the altar when she passed. Okay.
Yeah. I agree.
So how Chicago from St. Louis?
So my dad, he flew for 43 years with the airlines, and he was transferred. He was with Anheuser-Busch, like private, just coming out of college. My grandfather was a aeronautical engineer at Parks College in St. Louis. And met my mom through college, and then he got transferred to O'Hare when he started flying for the major airlines. So, and unfortunately, now my grandma is in Florida. My grandfather passed a few years ago, and we sold the house in St. Louis. But I go often for hockey tournaments for my son, and it just feels so weird to not go to their house. And I'm staying in a hotel when I should be, at grandma and grandpa's.
I completely understand. I think we all experience that when we
Yeah.
try to go home and there's no home there. The parents are.
Stories are so important. That's where the home lives on.
Well, it's very nice that you were able to record or to remember some of this to share their legacy with your own children, okay, for the future. Okay. Is there anyone else who, okay, Vaughn, are you able to get your project up?
Okay, I'm Debbie. I am so sorry.
I'm sorry, Debbie. I tried to call on you, but I was reading your name up there in the.
Yes, I didn't change that. And I'm sorry. It's my first name and my last name kind of squished together. So, okay.
So, can you share?
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll try. I've never done this before, so work with me, guys. Okay.
So the trick is really to make sure that you have whatever else you're going to project open in a tab.
Okay.
And then when you go to the, share screen, you should be able either through advanced or one of the tabs to click on it and pull it up.
Okay, let's see. Okay. I don't know. Did it come up?
I see where it says Debbie Monroe Roots. I don't know if you can scroll up or down or.
Okay. It's saying share, but it's not enlarging. Okay, that's kind of crazy.
You can try to hit present and see if it pops up.
There's a lot of debate, discussion that's gone on. At that point, the verdict could go either way.
Okay, I hit stop sharing and it stopped. So, um,
All right, it looks like we have three people in addition who
Hi.
need to share, Tanya, Kiki, and Vaughn.
well, I am not getting it. Sorry, guys.
If you could just give us a verbal summary of what you did, that would be okay.
Oh, okay. Basically, I did a background on my family and myself through poetry, and it went through who I am and where I'm from and how family is important to me. And I utilize using trees because I believe that my history relates to trees and the roots, and it's in my presentation. I'm so sorry, guys. Um, but I believe it symbolized growth and strength and the connection with family and one another. And I've seen that so much tonight with everyone that it's really so important that we really keep that alive in our society. So I'm sorry, but just like trees, my history, it has deep roots, and my family and my culture and my experiences, that's what shapes my life and who I am. And I believe that the branches of trees represents my journey, how it has gone and reached out in different directions. and how I grow and how I learn and how I have evolved as a mother, a teacher, a wife, a grandma, and all those other things. And I just think that it makes it easy to understand when we can identify with something physical. And so that's how my past influences my present and my future. And it shows that no matter how much you grow or how much my roots change, will always be grounded with family. And I think that's really expressed with everyone tonight. And I apologize for not
I
being
remember you had
talkative.
beautiful pictures of your family, of your,
Do that.
all right, of your
I'm
husband,
sorry.
children. Um, okay. In the interest of time, I think that we all still need to be grounded and realize that we are products, okay, that we continue to evolve, okay, but that we have strong roots. All right. And one last thing, I think Sarah commented, I think, um, you know, we all, uh, we had bikes. And I think what impressed me a little bit about yours was that you talked about what a child must feel like to have to give up everything. And so many of our students do that, okay? Can't express themselves within the classroom and, may have very few things, right, to play with. But they have their immediate family and their lives, right, as a result of escaping or choosing, okay, to leave in the hopes of a better dream. Okay, Kiki, would you be ready to share? Tanya, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the late login. I was kind of busy with stuff. Sorry, but I did my chosen project on books on different ethnicities. I have a lot of diverse children in my classroom, and they're struggling with social emotional issues and during arrival and also throughout the day. Um, they're not used to being detached from their parents. And I find that when I read different types of stories to them, they can kind of relate to. I also have a couple of teachers in my classroom that's bilingual, so they're able to interpret the stories in their language and which they can understand. I've got a book. This is one of the books. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's called The Color of Us. And also, I wrote a synopsis of the stories I chose, and I chose four books, but this was not one of the books. This is one of the books I read today, and the children felt attached to it. They can relate to the scenarios, stories inside the book. But the four books I chose is It's Okay to Be Different, um, Hair I Love, We All Are Connected, and The Color of Us. Well, this was like The Color of Us. So, because I was having a hard time detaching myself, or not detaching, but attaching myself to the students, and I was trying to figure out what way I could connect with them, to make them feel comfortable inside the classroom environment. Because some of these children that came into my classroom, this is the first experience of a Head Start program for them, or this is their first time ever inside of a school, period, and they're away from their family and they're in a new environment. They're around unfamiliar faces, and a couple of them is new to the country. So this was like a big shock to them. So I was using baby steps on how to relate to them in a sense, or connect with them basically. So one of my coaches was telling me to just try books, get on their level, sit on the floor, and bring them to you through reading literature. So that's what I've been doing. And it's just a few books I thought about sharing with you guys on if you guys want to look it up. It works well with me. So now that the children are used to me and used to my routine, they talk to me and I still don't really understand what they're saying, but they'll come up to me and speak in their tongue. I'm like, yeah, yeah. And what you say? But yeah, so I kind of got a close connection with them. At first, it was hard. There's a lot of emotional crying throughout the day and sobbing. And I'm like, okay, okay. But then it went on for 1 month, it went on for 2 months, went on for 3 months. And then all of a sudden, now it's like they're talking to me and leading me to things. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And yeah, see, yeah, see, okay. And I'm like, oh, she's saying, okay. But it's working. I just wanted that connection, make them feel comfortable, even though I don't understand what they're saying. They're warming up to me. So they come in and give me a hug and they know how to say my name and know how to say a few kids' name, but I just want them to feel comfortable in the environment in which they're in. It's new to them. So basically, that's it.
All right, thank you. I understand because I work with the newcomers. I have K to 5 and I have 11 or 14 language groups. And I will just share that there is a little boy in there that is may wind up with an IEP, but is very socially immature and wasn't really going along with the program. I'm trying to get him to his eyes to look at the page and ready to throttle him the other day. And then he comes up in the hallway and gives me a great big hug. So, you don't know. They certainly have their ups and downs, and it is difficult, okay, for them. But I can see growth, okay, emotionally, socially, and academically, but it takes a long time. Okay, we have to be patient. And reading books like that, okay, that is one way to get their attention because before they have speech emergence, okay, they can still develop, okay, they're listening. Right. So thank you. And you might want to touch base with Terry because she did hers on the social emotional, right? All of her books. Okay. So you are fortunate to have someone who can interpret, all right? Because while I am bilingual in Spanish, I have so many language groups now. And even if I were to interpret using AI, many of them don't read in the native language. So you need to almost use, for special circumstances, your phone, okay, to be able to talk in and have, to be able to translate, okay, that way, in emergency situations or when you really want to get a point across. All right. So thank you for sharing. All right. Kiki, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I really can't pull up my PowerPoint because I don't have access to it right now. But I could just basically let you guys know what was it about. So I did most of mine was Mexican artifacts, which was based on my family, their culture. I provided different type of clothing that were actually for women that they use where I'm from, which is Guerrero, Mexico, and also for children that they used, and they are handmade because they have a clothing store back in Mexico. I also provided two different sculptures, which were from my nieces. One was by my niece and one was by my uncle made. But we had kept them over the years. So they still like in our households. Uh as I was doing it, I also provided for like the special meaning to me. I have like a handmade bag that was made for my sister, which she passed away about 2 years ago. So she gave it to me. So now it's personally owned by me, but I gave it also to my daughter. Uh, I use this as a special project for my children. They are in my classroom because now I'm providing. Next week, I'm going to do a cultural day, which they're going to be able to bring in something that has a special meaning to them with the parents' support. And then they will provide basic any type of artifact or a special meaning that they have in their household, and then bring it to the classroom, and then we're going to present it, as they are mostly Ecuadorians. So we will see how that goes.
I appreciated seeing your artwork. My minor in college was Latin American Studies, and I do know, okay, that art appreciation is one of the top 10 values, okay, of Latin America. All right. So the fact that you were able to share the artesanias, okay, from, okay, your own family, okay, that have been passed down or created, okay, was, okay, very touching. All right. So
Thank you.
well, I believe that everyone, okay, who is going to share has. And I would like to give all of you the opportunity to leave and perhaps listen, okay, to the State of the Union address that started 10 minutes ago. So thank you very much, okay, for logging in and sharing. We will have one of these again, okay, in week 9 to share the second, okay, project. And if you have continued or any questions about the ethnographic interview, I can see that some of you have already posted the second choice project. It just should not be the same. You should pick one of the other ideas. And then, okay, for your interview, I hope you're moving along on that. Are there any questions? All right, well then, thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate knowing a little bit more about all of you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a nice evening.
All right, good night now.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.
Good night.